Hello there and welcome to In My Opinion for Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
Kirby is just happy and chilling in Dreamland, when all of a sudden a wild storm appears that has some type of vortex which sucks him and others up. Kirby then finds himself in an unknown land, and while exploring he sees someone named, and I think I'm going to mess this up, Elfilin. He then finds out from his new friend that the Waddle Dees have been captured by a group known as the Beast Pack. So it's up to Kirby and Elfilin to save them all. This is a Kirby game, so don't expect anything crazy when it comes to the story. It's a simple but fun adventure where you follow Kirby saving his friends. Kirby himself is of course fun to be around since how cute and expressive he is, even when the only real word he says is hi. I believe this is the first time Kirby has gotten his own fully 3D platformer, unless you count Kirby Air Ride, which kinda gave you some full 3D movement, but it was vehicle focused. Anywho, if you're new to Kirby, you just gotta know he's a cute little pink ball with a big appetite. By swallowing his enemies whole, he gains special powers such as a sword, ice breath, turning into a deadly pincushion, and much more. There are two ways to lose said powers, and that's either to get smacked hard enough that it just pops out, or let's say if you see another power that you want, you can just hold a button and pop it out that way. Though no matter what way you lose your power, you're given more than enough time to swallow it right back, which is something I've always appreciated in Kirby games. These powers are always fun to use and you're bound to find some of your favorites. For me, it was the ice breath and the sword. Also, since Kirby loves to eat, you'll find plenty of food around to heal yourself if you take too much damage. There's even a special treat that if you munch on, makes Kirby invincible for a little while playing a fun tune. Moving around these levels feels great with nice, tight, and responsive controls, and the same goes for when you're taking out some enemies. Of course, being a platformer, there is some jumping around and such, which is never a struggle as you can always get a feeling of your position and where you're aiming for to land. This is made even easier with Kirby's patented floating ability. One of the things added to spice things up for this game is that now you can swallow objects and turn into them. So you can turn into a traffic cone and slam down on the ground, or some stairs allowing you to flatten enemies and help you reach new heights, or even a car letting you ride around in some really fun moments such as a racetrack trying to beat the time to get some goodies. And these are just some of the objects. I also like that this mechanic doesn't feel half-assed as it's used a lot during your playtime and thankfully it's well executed. You don't have to worry about dropping your main powers either to swallow these things, as you can have both at the same time, even leading to some cute visuals. As the main goal is saving the Waddle Dees from the Beast Gang, the level usually ends with you finding some caged up. But that's not the only ones to save, as some are hidden in the level, and while some are hidden pretty well, most can be found without too many problems. Each level also contains missions to get some more, like find all wanted Kirby posters in the level, or beat a race at a specific time, and so on. Now these missions are all hidden, so you won't know them off the bat, but most you'll get by just playing through the level and exploring. If you still can't figure it out, the level will reveal one every time you complete the level, until all are shown, and since each level has great pacing, it will never become annoying. There are two reasons to save as much Waddle Dees as you can. One is because you need a certain amount of them saved to unlock the boss fight. Though don't worry, as even if you're just playing through the game and not trying to collect everything, you'll save enough to unlock the gate. Speaking of the boss fights, they are really fun to fight and each are unique. Be it the smashing of the giant Gorimondo or the agility of Chlorina who tries to attack from above. They also have missions like the other levels. The game does give you some health and a selection of weapons before these encounters, which is appreciated. The other reason for collecting Waddle Dees is the more you collect equals more help to rebuild a village, and the game lets you know how much you need to get. Some of the stuff you can build is a food shop where you can play a mini game serving people, and if you complete all the difficulties in said mini game, you get a little prize. There's a post office where you can mail out phrases and get some goodies like coins. It also has an online aspect where you can send out other phrases and get stuff that way, but my copy is not from my region, so I couldn't use that aspect. But don't worry, as you can get everything in the game still without it. There's an item shop where with the coins you've been collecting from the levels, you can buy and stack stuff like temporary buffs to your attack, defense, and speed. There's a Coliseum where you can take on a boss gauntlet and win a nice prize at the end. Kirby even eventually gets his own little house to nap in, and at some point you get a load of pawn nets to the house to do a little fishing minigame, which has some prizes. There are two other things to check out and has nothing to do with saving Waddle Dees, which is the theater in which you can watch any of the cutscenes, and a toy machine which lets you spend money to collect little figures that come with descriptions. More machines appear as you get further into the game, and you can find more figures in the levels. Besides reading and looking at them, you can also use it to decorate Kirby's house. One of the most important unlocks is the weapon shop. Here you can pick any weapon you inhaled through your playtime. Not only that, but you can find blueprints in the levels that unlocks upgraded versions to each power, most of them having 3 with some having 2 or 4 in special cases. Each of these have different properties and even change visually, which is a nice touch. So for example, the sword's second form gets you a giant sword that may be slower, but hits way harder. The Ice Breath third form can actually slow down enemies, freezing them in place, allowing a lot of free hits and big damage. The third form of the firepower does constant burn damage and even gives Kirby a fire wing attack. All of this made hunting these down worth it, as I looked forward to seeing how different the power looked and functioned. Most of the blueprints are easy to find, but if you're having trouble, a smart Waddle Dee you save does give you hints. Also, if you end up not liking the upgraded version of a power, you can always switch back to the previous version at no cost. Now, besides the blueprints, you also need a special type of currency to upgrade your powers, known as a rare stone, which leads into treasure roads. These are challenge levels which unlock as you're beating the normal levels, and you can find more around the map as the game lets you know if something is on the map. The main goal here is to make it to the end before the clock runs out. These are insanely fun as each is themed around using a certain power or turning into a certain object like the car. And it's not just, hey, kill these enemies in the way. And it can really test these powers in object forms with some fun platforming, or maybe using a power differently, like making the cutter bounce off the walls to hit a switch and so on. There is a reward for beating it in a certain time frame for some extra coins, but it's not mandatory for the rare stones. After completing the game, there is still more content to play. Now, I'll try my best to show without spoiling the story related to it, and yeah, I know it's a Kirby game, but I'm sure someone will be mad if I flat out said what it was. Anywho, you'll be playing a remixed level of each zone, collecting a certain object, and you must find them all. Don't worry, as the game lets you know if you collected all of said object before you leave an area. These remix levels are actually really fun and don't feel like a cheap copy and paste situation. And they up the challenge a bit. Not only that, you'll be facing the bosses again, but they're much tougher as well. The last thing I will mention is the overall difficulty of the game, and to remind you that this is a Kirby game, so it's not super hard, and it's pretty inviting to anyone. Now, just in case you never heard my thoughts on easy games, my motto is, if I'm having fun, I don't care. And this Kirby game is 100% fun. This game is pretty pleasing to the eyes as it's really bright and colorful with even some really nice lighting in certain levels. Each level is unique and it makes you look forward to the next one, be it one becoming a roller coaster in the theme park, being in the dangerous factory dodging crushers, or going into a winter wonderland. Another thing Kirby games tend to be is, well, cute. And here it's no different, as Kirby himself is adorable while doing stuff like his victory dance. He can be pretty expressive as well, even without really talking. Also, the way he stretches himself out is fun to watch. When it comes to enemies, we got some classics as well as some new faces, which are nicely designed. The same goes for the bosses, and not only looks, but attacks. I do kind of wish the game ran at 60 FPS, but it's 30, which is fine, and it rarely drops below that. Also never ran into any type of glitches, and if you're wondering, it works and looks fine in handheld mode as well.
With enjoyable and creative gameplay, nice visuals, and cute charm, it's safe to say Kirby made a transition to full 3D perfectly. It took me about 20 hours to beat, and that's counting some of the extra content such as completing all the missions and the post-game remix levels. And mind you, I didn't collect all the other stuff, so there's a good amount of content here. If you're in the mood for a cute, fun, and approachable platformer, then this is an easy recommendation, especially if you already love Kirby. So pick this one up, as it's one adventure you'll remember. I hope you enjoy my thoughts in this game, and for gamer's sake, keep gaming.